We are testing the 2023 cheat stick that can cause some golfers to be violently ill. Ignoring that small angry minority, big brands have been able to capitalize on the acceptance and popularity of the infamous chipper. The ultimatum of that golfer that struggles with confidence around the green, however, is the choice between cheap and cheerful, or these big brand alternatives that are upwards of £100. Sadly, for that prehistoric golfer, there is a new kid on the block, which apparently has no place in golf. So comment down below, would you use a chipper? Have you used a chipper? And how much would you spend on a chipper if you were to get one? As I'd be very interested to see at the end of this video if the price of this club aligns with your comments. Not to mention, they sent me this to review. Therefore, it's only fair that I show you guys a second-hand club comparison, which I think is just as good value. So let's break down some myths of the naysayers and give you a bit of confidence for a lot of you guys that don't think you should be playing with this club. Myth number one, no space in the bag. 25 years ago, I'd agree, as a standard set was 3 to sand wedge, whereas nowadays, everything's so de-lofted. Driver, fairway hybrid, 5 to sand wedge, maybe one other wedge, and then a putter. Myth number two is it's easy to use your 7-iron, and even though this would be a good transition, this is the same lie angle and just same as every other chipper as a putter, meaning you're using your putter setup. You're not going to feel the need to use your wrists at impact, meaning you can use the same stroke but clear half the danger. I'd love to see someone buy a chipper, get used to this technique, and then transfer it to the wedge. Get it more upright, get those arms locked, hands slightly forward, and then hit the same kind of shot. Which neatly brings me on to reason, and not necessarily a myth, why don't the pros use them? Apart from the fact they spend 20 hours a week on their short game, opposed to your 20 hours a month, if you're lucky, on your entire game, they're not playing the same course as us. They need to fly the ball a considerable distance. They need to get it over the undulation of the greens. Not to mention their greens are a hell of a lot faster than what we play on. Meaning it makes sense to have that high loft spinny shot that they get to stop close to the flag. Whereas us, on our local course, where the greens are half the speed, and let's be honest, incredibly flat, where it's quite easy to judge what to do around, oh, I thought I was going in then, around the green. But this is a simple design for a simple shot, meaning how cheap can we go to get an effective short game? So we have a shot that would strike fear into most grown men's hearts. Down the hill, out the rough, towards the flag. This is thin territory all day long. $14.99, Sports Direct raved about this when I did a review on it. And to be honest, I still do. It's a great entry point, but there are a few downfalls. Number one, incredibly light, meaning that it's easier to flip your hands through at impact when you're trying to hit it. Number two, very small grip, meaning that, again, promoting this kind of movement with the hands, I do find it a lot harder to use that same kind of putting stroke. Number three, not as forgiving off-center hits. That being said, 3 shots from a shot we all detest, I mean, a good majority of you be taking those. However, don't go and whack a putter grip on your cheap chipper, as it will make it illegal. But you can see how other brands get around that. Callaway, Ping, and this one by putting almost like a mid-size +4 grip on it. Not to mention they make the head heavier, and sadly, to make things heavier in golf, that does cost money, meaning that it's going to be more expensive than the cheap alternative. But I do feel that will help quite a lot of beginners, especially around these kind of shots. And to be honest, I hear what you're saying, Simon, I just use my putter around the green. And to be honest, from this particular shot, I would have to agree, use your putter. You don't need a chipper. Oh, go on. You don't need a chipper from this length. But let's say there's something in your way. Let's say you're out the rough. Let's say you just need to nudge it 10, 5, 4 yards. Oh, dangerous today. Well, then it makes sense to have something like this, especially if you're starting the game. This, however, is a prime example of why a decent short game is important. hardly any green to work with, out the rough, you need spin here. That doesn't produce any spin. Great for the bump and run, great for long shots, but from this kind of short-sided shot, you need to have soft hands. You need to be able to get underneath the ball. With the chipper, you haven't got that. You're going to hit the ground quite far behind the ball, especially in the heavy stuff, which means you get it out the rough, but as you can see, it's just going to keep chasing. The Anisis chipper, style-wise, I think it looks great compared to, well, the cheap Slazenger one, but in terms of style, I mean, they're very similar, and I'll show you in a minute my second-hand bargain buy. But apart from the grip and a tiny bit more weight at the bottom, let's be honest, they're very similar. It does come with a nice head cover, however, and again, the overall style does look quite sleek and classic, meaning it's going to blend with quite a lot of your brands that you already have in the golf bag. Not to mention, I've hit roughly 100 plus chips with this thing now, and it still looks virtually brand new, which you can't say the same for the Slazenger. Which brings me on to my bargain second-hand option, Callaway X-Act, second-hand, 60, 70 pounds. Just as good as the Anisis chipper that I have here, as well as it being a big name brand. The only downfall of it, trying to find one second-hand, the prices are quite low. There's not many of them out there on the market. So much to the point you can buy a brand new Callaway X-Act chipper for £109 brand new. Which brings me on to the price of the Anisis, 90 euros, roughly just under 80 pounds. Which, to be honest, when I first saw it, I thought way too expensive. But now I weigh it up between the Slazenger and then all the way to the Ping Chip R. It is somewhat of a sweet spot. But to be honest, when I compare the Callaway and this Anisis next to the Slazenger, that extra weight, the bigger grip, ultimately is going to give that golfer a bit more confidence, which, to be honest, is quite invaluable and maybe worth the price tag that it's set at. However, that's my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours. Not to mention, we've just done one chipper, and I reviewed a full set of chippers that you can hit from 150 yards. If that sounds interesting, this video up here on the right hand side. Catch you guys later.